This is KTVO's Good Morning Heartland.
February is American Heart Month, and unfortunately, most of us know someone who has had a heart disease or a stroke, and heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States. About every 37 seconds, an American will have a coronary event, and there is some good news. Heart disease is actually preventable. We have Dr. Heather Martin from Kirksville Family Medicine and ATSU here this morning to break it down for us. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for coming on. So obviously this is a big issue because heart disease is really prevalent in women. So first of all, explain exactly what heart disease is.
Well, that's a very good question because a lot of people are kind of confused about what heart disease is. So it has many names. Cardiovascular disease is another name for it that's very common, but that encompasses everything from coronary artery disease, arrhythmias, cardiomyopathies, which is a weakened heart muscle. So there's lots of different things that all go into that. A lot of people know it also from arrhythmias, so like someone that you know that has AFib. The main thing that we would talk about today is atherosclerosis. So that is when you have plaques that build up on the inside of your arteries. So instead of having an artery, say, this big, that plaque builds up and narrows that area down. So when that happens, you don't have the blood flow that you would usually have going through the vessels at the same speed, and that can cause blood clots, which we all know blood clots are not something you want, but those can be especially bad for us with our heart because that means that the heart muscle doesn't get the blood flow that it needs and can actually die or be damaged. So that can cause, a heart attack. And then the other side of that is that can also cause a stroke. So definitely two things you don't want having going on.
So what are some symptoms that we should look out for? I know that, some people will complain, oh, I have chest pains, but it's not a big deal. But in honesty, it could be a big deal. So what are some symptoms we should look out for?
Right. So some major signs to look out for is that chest pain, chest pressure. A lot of women will describe it as, gosh, I have a belt around my chest and, just feel that tightening. Other things can be some pain or numbness and tingling in their jaw or shoulder. Fatigue is a huge one as well, and shortness of breath. So all of those things are big things to look for.
Now, are the symptoms different for men and women, or?
Yes. Well, a lot of women can have very silent heart attacks, and diabetics as well, because as time goes on, they don't have that sensation, so they don't have the same feeling that they're having a heart attack as maybe a man would that's younger and healthier. The scary thing is 50% of all men will start having a heart attack and will had no signs or symptoms prior to that event starting. Wow.
So you just mentioned diabetics. Are there any other health conditions that could increase our risk of getting heart disease?
Right. So diabetes is another huge one. So if you have diabetes, you want to make sure you control your blood sugars. Obesity is another very large one because, as we all know, as our cholesterol goes up and we start gaining weight and putting on those pounds, that puts a lot of extra work on our heart. High blood pressure or hypertension is another one. And then, just like the others that we talked about.
Right. So when we go to the doctor's office and if we, are concerned or if heart disease runs in our family, what are some questions that we should be asking our doctor, or what are some information we should be telling our doctor?
So if you've ever had any of those signs or symptoms, of course, please don't wait until your 6-month appointment to mention them. You will be shocked how many people will come in for their sore throat and say, oh, by the way, but having this chest pressure, this chest pain, this shortness of breath. So make sure that you call and make those appointments quickly if you have any concerns, but also go to the, go to the ER. Other things to ask for, though, would be to have baseline labs drawn. So you know what your cholesterol is. To find out what your BMI is, your body mass index, that tells us how much overweight, underweight you are, because both are a risk factor. Other things to look for would be how much exercise you need to be getting and things of that nature, and if it's healthy for you to get as vigorous of exercise as you've maybe looked at.
Now, does age play a factor? Like, somebody that might be young and fit would be like, I don't need to mention any of that stuff to my doctors, but should we really be doing that at a young age?
Right. I mean, genetics is a huge part of this, a huge part. So if you have a mom or a dad who's had a heart attack, older siblings, younger siblings, #1 killer for men and women alike is heart disease. So it's absolutely important for everyone.
And finally, so what are some things that we can do to reduce our chances of getting heart disease? Are there foods out there, exercise?
Absolutely.
What do you recommend?
Absolutely. Not the huge cheeseburger and french fries, unfortunately. So good things to look for food-wise would be those lean meats, so chicken and fish. If you're not getting a lot of fish, omega-3s that you can get in fish oil is a good replacement there. Of course, your fruits and veggies, and trying to stay away from all those just white plain things, your white bread, your potatoes, same things of that nature. Making sure that you're getting the exercise that we talked about. 2.5 hours a week is what the Surgeon General recommends. So 30 minutes 5 times a week, or even break it up in 10-minute segments. And that means not just, I'm going to Walmart, so I'm walking around. You have to actually get out there and get some vigorous exercise, enough to almost break a sweat, if not full on break a sweat.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Martin. What we'll do is we'll post everything on our website at heartlandconnection.com, and we'll also link up your information at the doctor's office if they have any questions, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks.